Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome to an adventures video, a series where I'm going to look through different systems on how you put adventures together for that system. And the first one up is Dogs in the Vineyard, which I've been covering various elements over the past few weeks. And while I was trying to work out how I was going to do this adventure, because usually when you're writing an adventure, you're creating NPCs, you're drawing maps, etc. to create the scenario. But Dogs in the Vineyard is a different type of game because everything is based around the town. The players themselves are God's watchdogs who are sent by the religion to visit various communities and make sure everything's going right there. Now, the community is the start of every adventure, so they've got this section which is on how to create a town. And all the elements where there's something going wrong. It very much starts off that in this recap section on page 77, something's wrong. If there's nothing going wrong, then there's no adventure. As the rulebook itself lays out, then the players will just be attending dinners, shaking hands and kissing babies as high members of the religion who everybody's pleased to see. And that doesn't make a great game. So there's something wrong. And it lays out the different elements which can build up the community and what's happening in it, and you will be building up the NPCs and all that. Now, the recap section's a really good summary of it, so I'm going to go over that first before delving back into some examples they give on how these elements build up to an adventure. So, something's wrong. Pride enacted creates injustice, which leads to sin, allowing demonic attacks, which lead to false doctrine, manifest as corrupt worship, which grows into false priesthood, a sorcerer's cult, which leads to hate and murder. So to create a town, first you've got to decide what's wrong. Is there pride, stewardship, women and men, love, sex, marriage, polygamy, money, who and which? Is a man terribly proud of his beautiful wife, and that's leading him to act in a corrupt fashion and upset the town? Is there somebody trying to take over control of it because they are proudful and think they can do the job better as leader? So they're trying to displace the leader, lead the community against him, pointing out his faults. Injustice, hardship, money, role, righteousness, who and which. So, injustice, is there something the leader's done wrong, made a bad decision which is leading the town to corruption? Is there somebody who's making a lot of money and therefore is becoming prideful, but also within the rules of the religion, nobody is supposed to starve while somebody has surplus. So are they keeping their money to themselves and not helping out their neighbours who are starving, leading to the neighbours wanting to rise up and disunity in the town? Then we've gone on to sin. Violence, sex, deceit, disunity, blasphemy, apostasy, worldliness, faithlessness, who and which. So, is the violence going on? Is somebody beating somebody up? Is a man beating his wife? Which might be generally accepted in the faith that a man will have dominion over his wife. But then again, that could be setting further waves of disunity out across the town, which wouldn't be acceptable. We've got demonic attacks. The demons want to isolate the community, endanger the community's survival, exacerbate the community's injustice, prosper the community's sinners, oppress the community's faithful. So what are the demons which have been brought in by the sins which are happening, by the injustice, the pride, etc.? The demons want the sin to become habitual. So if they're helping out somebody who's profiting unjustly, then that person will continue to prosper with demonic aid, which will further make people act out and tear the community apart. We've got false doctrine. Sinner invents false theology to justify, or the victim or witness of demonic attacks create false doctrines to explain. So the person who's profiting, for example, is spreading stories that it's actually God's will. That's false doctrine. It's not God's will that he profits that much, but the demons are helping him and he believes he's right. We've got corrupt worship, so bad religious practices, incorrect ceremony. So is there something going wrong in the teachings of the religion itself that the dogs have to correct? False priesthood, 3 or more worshippers make a cult. Who is the cult leader and who are the cult? So if a number of people are working together, then they'll be forming a cult and they'll be creating their own priesthood to work against the dogs and the true religion. Sorcery. What does the cult have the demons doing? The demons want to kill somebody. Hate and murder. Eventually someone kills someone. Who and how? What does each named person want from the dogs? So you're fleshing out what everybody wants. So even the people who want the dogs to go away, that's what they want of the dogs, to be left alone. Or perhaps part of their plan is to corrupt the dogs. Then we've got 6B, and what do the demons want? What do they want from the dogs specifically? Because if they can get the dogs to render a false judgment, calming everything down, but leading to false doctrine because of a misreading of the situation, then the demons will do that. And finally we've got, if the dogs never came, what would happen? So detailing out, if the players don't do anything, if they never even turned up, what would be the end results? So you can see what the dogs are trying to stop happening. Now, as I said, there's some examples. So if I go back. So the first example we've got on page 72. Example 1, the Box Elder Canyon branch, which involves brothers Artax, Benjamin, and Cadmus are the dogs. So we start off with Pride. The territorial authority guy thinks he deserves his living without working. He's a faithful who's been assigned to the negligible civic duties, keeping census info and reporting it annually, but he thinks that it's enough to warrant his family's maintenance. So there's somebody who's prideful. They think they've got this important position, even though it doesn't require much work, and they think they deserve a living from it. So that's introduced pride into the community. Injustice. Because he spends his time pestering the town for more money instead of working, he, his wife, and their children are dirt poor. So while everybody else in the town's prospering, he's poor. He's prideful because of this position, but his family's suffering for it. Again, more sin coming in. Carrying on, sin. The territorial authorities guy, Brother Artax's aunt, makes whiskey and sells it to the town's farmhands on the sly. So she's trying to keep the family afloat because she's making whiskey, but that drinking alcohol is against the rules of the religion. So while he's happy, his wife's happy because she's supporting the family, the farmhands are happy because they've got some alcohol. All of this is against the rules of the religion. And all this sin is bringing demonic attacks. So, the church meeting house has burned down. Brother Benjamin's uncle was badly burned in the fire. He's healing but pissed off. So, one of the people in the town has been hurt in a fire because the demons were invited in by the sin. The sin doesn't the demonic attack doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the sin. The demons can do anything to keep the situation spiraling out of control. 3A, false doctrine. Brother Benjamin's burned uncle blames the steward for the fire because the steward's grandmother is a mountain person convert and she lives in the steward's house. It's dumb bigotry, but he's decided the steward's calling is invalid. So the burned man is blaming the leader of the town and saying that his appointment as leader of the town is invalid. So he's spreading false doctrine. He's trying to break down the structure of the community for an injustice he feels has been done to him, which isn't connected to the original sin, but the demons have helped spiral that out of control. Corrupt worship. Brother Benjamin's burned uncle has taken to ceremonially praying for the steward's grandmother's death. So he's praying for it. That's something you shouldn't be praying for. You shouldn't be praying for somebody's death. So they are corrupting the structures of the religion. Skipping sections, so we've got going on to the people. There's Brother Artax's aunt. The territorial authority census guy's wife wants the dogs to stay out of her business. She wants to keep her whiskey a secret, because if that comes out, she'll definitely lose status within the religion, and she'll lose the way she's bringing in money. Brother Benjamin's uncle wants the dogs on his side versus the steward. So he's wanting them to rule that the steward is out of control, that he should be removed from his position. Brother Cadmus's little brother wants the dogs to tell him who to trust, but not to tell him to stop drinking whiskey. The territorial authority census guy wants the dogs to side with him, that he deserves to be paid a living wage for his negligible civic office. And the steward wants the dogs on his side versus the uncle. He especially wants to convince them that his grandmother is a convert with no malice in her. And the demons. The demons want the farmhands to join the cult. They'll attack the town where the steward ought to be able to protect it and undermine his authority where they can. They want the dogs to join with the uncle. They want the whiskey to stay secret. If the dogs get close to the whiskey, the demons will work overtime to implicate the steward's grandmother. They'll make it look like she's using them to attack the uncle. That's a good twist. What would happen if the dogs never came? Sooner or later, the cult would get its 3 members, then they'd overthrow the steward. The demons would whisper to them that leaving him and his grandmother alive is dangerous to them, eventually murder. So we know what happens if the players didn't turn up, if they totally fail when they do turn up. And we've got the motivations of all the people who are building up this story. We've got lots of role-playing situations. And we don't need to draw out what the still is like, where the whiskey's getting made. We don't need to know where the different people are. We've got the situations, and we can game on that. It's the personalities behind it that's important, the structure of the town. Second up, we've got example 2, the White Church branch. Brothers Artax, Benjamin, and Cadmus are the dogs. First, we've got Pride. Brother Artax's niece is resisting the appropriate courtship of the steward's son, for no good reason. She just doesn't like him. In Justice, consequently, the steward's son has become obsessed with her. He's buying her more gifts than he can afford, burdening his family. Which leads to Sin. The shopkeeper, not a faithful, is marking up his prices. He doesn't consider it a sin to profit from injustice, but it is one. He and his wife, Brother Benjamin's cousin, young, pretty, faithful, are getting rich and are lording it over other people, which is leading to demonic attacks. The demons want to make the situation worse, so they're breaking tools and making them wear out faster. Brother Cadmus's aged uncle's farm is one of the worst hit. The old guy values his independence. Whether that's pride, too, is up in the air. We skip the other sections because we've got enough of a story there going on. We've got the demons causing things to wear out, which is leading to profit for the shopkeepers who are lording it over the other people, especially as the shopkeeper himself isn't a member of the faith. So people will be suspicious of him. We've got the people. We go straight on to that section. The steward and his son want Brother Artax to talk sense into his niece. The steward will be content if he talks sense into his son. Shopkeeper wants the dogs to keep their noses out. They'll have to figure out how to deal with him, given he's not faithful. Is he a spiritualist, an atheist, a dogmatist, or what? Wing it. His wife, Brother Benjamin's cousin, wants the dogs to assuage her guilt. She doesn't especially want them to convert him to the faith. She loves him how he is. And Brother Cadmus's uncle wants the dogs to stay over and help him get his farm back together, just this harvest. Brother Artax's niece wants to marry Brother Benjamin or Brother Cadmus, and the demons want to drive prices up and demand up, up, up. They want the steward to pronounce that it's okay for the town to rob the store, which will be false doctrine, and they want the dogs to buy stuff, so they'll try to break their stuff too. They don't want the dogs to pronounce that it's okay for the town to rob the store, because if the dogs say it, then it's probably not false doctrine. That's what dogs do, after all. What would happen if the dogs never came? Eventually the steward would declare the store to be the congregation's property and run the shopkeeper and his wife out. The demons would keep applying scarcity pressure. Without the shopkeeper, how will the town restock the store until it all blows up? So again, we see how the minor sins are leading to demonic attacks, which are causing further problems. And that's the way the adventures are structured. And we've got one final one, which we'll go over. The Tower Creek branch. Brother Artax, Benjamin, and Cadmus are the dogs. Pride. The branch steward has taken righteously a second wife. His first wife, Sister Bethia, Brother Artax's cousin, is against it. Injustice. Sister Bethia is monopolizing her husband's attention, manipulating him. He has little time for his new wife. By time, of course, I mean both sex and public regard. Sin. The new wife, Sister Edie, turns to the town's deputy sheriff, Brother Cyrus. Demonic attacks. The demons make Sister Edie barren. So the man's got married to a second wife, which is okay within the religion, but she's not bearing any children. So that is causing stress within the man's marriage, or second marriage. Sister Edie thinks correctly she can't conceive because of her infidelity. She concludes incorrectly that she should marry her lover, Brother Cyrus. She thinks that women of the faith can have multiple husbands. So that's false doctrine. Corrupt worship. She talks a third woman, old Sister Wilhelmina, Brother Benjamin's aunt, into performing a secret wedding. False priesthood. Sister Edie, Brother Cyrus, and Sister Wilhelmina. That's 3. They're a small cult, but they're a cult. By performing the false wedding, Sister Wilhelmina has established herself as a false prophet. Sorcery. Sister Wilhelmina's trying to sorcerously restore Sister Edie's fertility by robbing other women of theirs. Hate and murder. Sister Wilhelmina sorcerously kills a child in the womb. Yesterday the unborn baby was healthy, today it's stillborn. So we've gotten all the way to murder. They're trying to use the power that they're getting from the demons to restore the thing the demons themselves have taken away, and it's leading to murder of an unborn child. And so on to the people, and what do they want? So the steward wants the dogs to bless his second wife to conceive. He just wants his marriage to work. He's going by all the rules of the religious cult that they're a member of. The steward's first wife wants the dogs to prevail upon her husband to put aside the second wife. So she just wants things set back, but she's already caused all these problems. Brother Cyrus, the deputy sheriff, wants the dogs to solemnize his marriage to Sister Edie. He's skeptical of old Sister Wilhelmina's authority. So, although he's part of the cult, he doesn't really believe that cult is justified in the eyes of the religion. Sister Wilhelmina wants the dogs to leave. As they get closer to her, she'll call upon the demons to protect her and mislead them. The injured mother wants the dogs to name her stillborn baby, because he wasn't meant to be born dead. So all they need to do with that person is comfort them. While they've got all this other going on, they are still members of the religion and should be there to comfort the flock as they go through hardships. And this mother's gone through one of the worst hardships, losing a child. And what do the demons want? Well, they want the dogs to blame Sister Bethia, the first wife, for the stillbirth. They'll set her up as a sorceress, even though she's not one. Her pride will be obvious even without their help. So the demons will take what's already obvious and make it worse to distract the players from it. And what happens if the dogs never came? Maybe the steward could sort it all out and put it right. But no, you know that Sister Wilhelmina would talk poor Brother Cyrus into killing him first. So it would lead to further murder. The situation would spiral out of control without the players there. So that's very much the structure of Dogs of the Vineyard adventures. You don't need maps of the towns, you don't need maps of people's houses and their whiskey stills or whatever. It's setting up the relationships between people and leading to the conflicts which allow the players to discuss things out or fight it out and to banish the demons to hopefully save the town. But anyway, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough. We've gone over the structure of that. I hope I've kind of shown how Dogs in the Vineyard's a bit different from some other role-playing games and how it can make very interesting adventures just by the interactions between sections. So thank you very much for watching. But most of all, as always, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.